Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is a side-scrolling platformer developed by Capcom and released on the Nintendo Entertainment System back in 1990. The game was Capcom's second licensed title based on the successful Disney Afternoon block of programming popular in the early 90s. However, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers has always lived in the shadow of the original Disney Afternoon title, DuckTales. First, DuckTales sold better, with approximately 1.6 million sold compared to 1.2 million. Retrospectively, Chip 'n Dale almost always plays second fiddle to Uncle Scrooge. In an IGN list of top 100 NES games, for example, DuckTales earns a top 10 billing, while Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is listed at 71, complete with a typo in the game's title. The book Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library offered a similar synopsis, giving DuckTales a perfect 5-star review, while Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers received just 4 stars. Website Games Radar continued this trend, listing Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers as the 21st best NES game, with DuckTales surpassing it at number 16. So, is Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers really the weaker title, or has history gotten it wrong? Let's take a look. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers starts off strong, with the title screen showcasing a terrific 8-bit rendition of the show's iconic theme song. From here, a cutscene plays, with Chip explaining a neighbor has lost their kitten, and from here, the team is off to rescue a kitten. While I appreciate the semblance of a plot, at its core, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is a straightforward platformer. Piloting either Chip or Dale, the player makes their way from the beginning of the level to the end in a linear fashion. In the first level, for example, there is no kitten to rescue. The unique hook is the method of attack. Chip and Dale cannot jump on enemies. Instead, scattered through the game's 11 stages are crates and steel boxes. The crates are littered virtually everywhere and can be used as projectiles. They can be thrown left or right as expected, but also straight up, giving some terrific flexibility for the heroes. Even better, the heroes can hide inside the boxes. This acts as a shield of sorts, and if an enemy runs into the box, they take damage and the player loses the box, but not a hit point. The steel crates work a little differently. These can't really be thrown at enemies unless they are right next to the player. However, they don't break and can be reused over and over. Even better, they can be stacked on top of each other to create platforms to access areas normally out of reach. Crates might also contain one of the Rescue Rangers' 2 main collectibles, flowers and stars. The flowers are also found out in the open, and collecting 100 will yield an extra life. The stars are a bit more rare, and collecting just 20 will yield an extra life. There's also a bonus area between stages with 9 crates, and usually one of them will contain an extra life. Needless to say, while Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers has limited continues, there is plenty of opportunity to rack up extra lives. The final 2 items are acorns, replenishing a unit of health, and zipper, offering temporary invincibility in addition to taking out all on-screen enemies. After clearing the first stage, the main villain Fat Cat reveals he has tricked the Rescue Rangers, offering a fake mission so he could capture the beloved gadget. He also announces the Rescue Rangers will need to visit his casino if they want to take her back. Like any good platformer, there are heroes, a villain, and a mission, which is about all I need. From here, the game offers a map screen, letting the player choose between Zone A or B. A clever player could skip up to 3 levels by choosing an optimal route, or experience all the game has to offer by playing through every stage. The remainder of the game plays out like the opening stage. Reach the exit, play a bonus stage, and then watch a cutscene. Gadget will offer hints about each stage using a rigged-up wireless phone, but for some reason is unable to rig up an escape. In any case, the journey to Fat Cat's casino is pretty varied. One thing the designers did exceptionally well in Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is offer up a ton of non-standard level types. Chipmunks are small creatures, and the environments do an adequate job offering a sense of scale. Chip 'n Dale looks small next to the bookshelves in the library level. The fences in this outdoor area tower over the heroes. The pots in the kitchen level are large enough to boil the rodents, and the slot machines are massive. While not always perfect, the overall presentation does a a nice job helping Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers feel unique. The sense of progression through individual levels is also pretty great. In the opening stage, for example, the player starts in a typical neighborhood alley area, but about halfway through the level, the player will climb up a utility pole and spend the rest of the zone above the neighborhood, scampering along power lines. This happens in the library too, first on the ground level, then above the library, along ceiling fans. The casino area is a good example as well, first taking place on the casino floor, then along the lights above. What is less than satisfactory are the boss encounters. Among the 8 initial stages are 6 different bosses: the Brusher, Owl, Spaceship, Robot, Green Grouper, and finally the Casino Cat. What makes them unsatisfactory is how ridiculously simple each and every one of them is. Each are defeated with a red ball placed on the screen, matching the throwing mechanics of the levels. However, only the Brusher and Green Grouper even react to the player's movements, shooting lightning at the player. The Brusher can be defeated easily by simply moving out of the way and then tossing the ball. The Green Grouper is even easier. As he is in the middle of the screen, the ball will do damage on the way up and the way down, making this a very quick fight. The Owl, Spaceship, and Robot also launch projectiles, but the patterns have nothing to do with the player. Therefore, avoiding the projectiles is trivial. The Spaceship is probably the best of the bunch, as the little aliens race across both sides of the screen, requiring the player to get in a rhythm of sorts, and this is the highlight of the boss encounters. The Casino Cat, which should be awesome as he is the last thing in the way of rescuing Gadget, is a joke. He drops casino chips either down or at an angle, leaving a very obvious safe spot on the screen for the player. What should have been a climatic point in the game ends up being the easiest part of the game. Still, with the Casino Cat defeated, Gadget has been rescued. Unfortunately, Fat Cat has escaped and the heroes chase after him in a rocket ship, and 3 more levels are presented. While Casino Cat was a disappointment, the final 3 levels in Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers are not, presenting a nice increase in difficulty. The sewers are filled with bottomless pits, challenging the player's platforming skills. This office-styled level has numerous fans, altering the player's momentum. Fail to grasp the physics, and plenty of overturned thumbtacks are waiting to damage the heroes. And lastly, there is a cat food factory. Not only is this filled with conveyor belts, but also plenty of moving axes and dense enemy patterns. It's a solid final level, forcing players to react quickly to threats, while also requiring some proficiency with the controls. Being the final level, of course, means the final showdown against Fat Cat is next. Like the previous bosses, Fat Cat is another letdown. His attack is his cigar ash, which spreads out, forming 5 different projectiles. Depending on where his hand is will determine where the ash will go. Unfortunately, the cigar is halfway down the screen and the player is way too high, and thus reacting to the attacks is a near impossibility. There just isn't enough time. That's not to say this fight is hard, just annoying. Launch the ball at the massive cat 5 times and the fight is quickly over. Just expect to die a couple of times while getting into a good groove. It's a shame really, but also not surprising based on the previous boss encounters. Anyway, with Fat Cat defeated, the Rescue Rangers celebrate their victory and the game comes to an end. Graphically, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is solid. The screen is almost always filled with bright primary colors, fitting the cartoon world perfectly. I also like how the background is rarely a single color, but instead filled with patterns, clouds, and other details helping each zone come to life. Another thing I dig is the shading. Round or cylindrical objects have shading on the insides and edges, giving them depth without breaking away from the overall cartoon style. I also like the little details. Wooden desks have some aging to them, the slot machines have little cherries and 7s on them, fire under the pots is animated, and the fans use palette swapping techniques to give a sense of motion. The designers also did a nice job using dithering effects to give the illusion of more color. It isn't overdone either, just sprinkled here and there when needed without taking over the entire screen. I also dig how glasses, cups, and beakers use a combination of bright spots, dithering, and an absence of color to give the illusion of transparency. It's all tastefully done and puts Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers a step or two ahead of many titles on the platform. The sprite work is excellent as well. Chip and Dale only use 4 colors, but those 4 colors are expertly utilized to provide most of the detail of the source material, from Chip's hat to the flowers on Dale's shirt. The actual movement is a bit more basic, with a standard 3-frame walking animation and a single jump frame, but limitations aside, the 2 main protagonists look great. Even better are the enemies. Right from the first moments in the game, one can tell these are going to be special. These robot dogs are large and detailed. The inchworms not only move back and forth, but stop and take a look downwards before continuing their patrol. Rhino Runner, Racket Roo, Wart, and these guys are all large and detailed and hold up well compared to the main character sprites. This level of quality permeates the music as well. Nearly every track is very pleasant to listen to. It has an upbeat style matching the somewhat hyper pace of the action. It almost reminds me of swing music from the 30s and 40s, with a bold and confident style I can't help but find appealing. The melodies are catchy, with simple hooks sure to get stuck in one's head, but don't repeat too quickly to wear out their welcome. I'm not sure the depth matches some of Capcom's more popular efforts, but it is no slouch in its own right. So, with 2 playable characters, 11 different levels, cooperative play, quality graphics, and a swinging soundtrack, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers checks off all the boxes one would want from an 8-bit platformer. But looking beneath the surface is where the game really starts to flex its muscles. Simply put, the controls are phenomenal. There is a slight learning curve, however, as there seems to be no momentum whatsoever. Chip and Dale reach their top speed almost immediately. The jumping follows suit, with the chipmunks reaching their peak height and racing back downwards at a record pace. Despite the unique feel, it's ridiculously responsive. Starting, stopping, leaping all happen as soon as the player presses the respective button, and it makes for an exceptionally smooth platforming experience. The quickness also helps with the boxes and crates. It is easy to rapidly pick up and throw boxes, which is a good thing, as anything slower would make searching through a long line of crates a boring experience. Instead, the action happens with a quickness never slowing down the overall pace of the game. Speaking of throwing crates, the enemy placement is top-notch too. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers incorporates a ton of vertical segments into the gameplay, and I appreciate how there is an attack to match this gameplay style. Enemies rarely pop up unexpectedly either, always placed in a way the player has time to react to their appearance. There are a couple of instances of surprise attacks, but these are few and far between. I also appreciate these crab enemies in the sewers. The player is then tasked with trying to figure out how to take them out, adding a bit of strategy to the gameplay. Same goes for the Racket Roos, requiring the player to use timing to get in 2 attacks needed to take them down. Even the robotic rats are interesting, as they actually react to the player, moving in for an attack once the player is on the same plane. The pelican also deserves a shout out. If a crate is thrown at their head, they catch the crate and launch it back. One needs to hit the bottom half of the pelican to properly dispatch it. All of the varying patterns and strategies make for an engaging experience. The defensive capabilities of hiding in a crate or box is the icing on the combat cake. The interactive elements are also pretty great. The box stacking is mostly optional, but is here for players wanting to explore every nook and cranny of the levels. It's introduced in a logical way as well. There are no enemies present, and 3 boxes are offered to make it over a large wall. After this, it's required for just a single jump, but can be used to reach bonus crates and extra flower items. There's also switches needing to be pressed to turn off certain hazards. In the toy store level, these are clearly marked with an on-off switch. Gadget even advises to throw something at them to disable them. In the final gauntlet, similar switches are presented without the hints to shut off the axes. There's even a Mega Man-styled vertical level with pipes moving in and out over a bottomless pit. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers isn't a difficult game by any stretch, but it certainly has moments testing the player's skills. That isn't to say Rescue Rangers is perfect. For one, the hitbox is a little off, expanding a few pixels beyond the forward-facing side of the character. Generally speaking, this doesn't matter at all, since the combat is projectile-based rather than melee-based. However, there are a few times when the player will accidentally run into attack or hazard unexpectedly. This behavior exists on Racket Roost tennis balls as well. The hitbox of the ball is taller than it appears, and the player can take damage when it seems the ball is below them. It's disappointing for sure, but other than these two instances, the hitbox is never detrimental to the overall gameplay experience. I should also note this final section in the cat food factory. There aren't enough boxes to properly take out these two-hit enemies, and not enough vertical space to jump over their projectiles. It means with optimal play, the player will always take a hit or two of damage, which feels very sloppy, leading to the final boss fight. Lastly, this water area feels a touch out of place. One of the crates has a boat in it, and the player needs to use the boat to travel across the water. There are no hazards here either, just a strange boat ride. Following this, the player is given an axe to break some rocks. This is the only vehicle and only melee weapon in the entire game, and while there is nothing wrong with either mechanic, it feels odd. This brings us back to the question asked at the beginning of the video. Is Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers weaker than DuckTales, or has history gotten it wrong? Let me just cut right to the chase. While DuckTales is a fine title, and certainly one of the more memorable in the NES library, looking at things objectively, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is the superior title. First, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers has better controls. For one, there are no 3-button combos necessary for any maneuver. Picking up a crate and throwing it is the same button. The most complex maneuver is dropping to a lower platform, which is accomplished by pressing down, then jump. Very logical. Second, the controls are far more responsive. I never experienced any input failing to register on my 10 or so playthroughs. Every input responded as expected every time. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is more interesting aesthetically as well. Areas like the diner, casino, toy store, office, and library buck the usual level gimmicks, making for a more diverse adventure. DuckTales has the superior soundtrack for sure, offering more complex compositions, catchier melodies, and better instrument sounds, but beyond the music and the superior character animations, the game design just isn't as polished and focused as Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. From the smarter enemies, superior combat, and fewer control oddities, the Chipmunks offer a much more fleshed out adventure free from programming inconsistencies and questionable design. In closing, objectively speaking, I don't think Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers has been fairly viewed in the eyes of history. The controls are some of the most responsive of any 8-bit platformer. The unique blend of offensive and defensive attacking works perfectly with the wide variety of enemy patterns, and the level design works within the confines of the controls, never asking more from the player than what is possible. While the graphic quality isn't in the same league as the upper echelon of the NES library, the bright visuals, interesting backgrounds, and great shading techniques still look excellent today, showcasing what the NES was capable of in the hands of good artists. The music is no slouch either, with some true earworms. There are even a few cutscenes giving some context to the arc of the adventure. With the exception of the weak boss encounters, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is a satisfying, engaging, and thoughtful game from beginning to end, and in my opinion, an underappreciated classic.